Well, Razorback fans, it seems that we are down to the home stretch of this Razorback football coaching search. What will be the final step? Let's talk about on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend, as we are going to basically just go hot and heavy into the coaching search, because that is what is on everyone's mind right now, rightfully so. And we'll get to the latest. We'll talk about some little minor details and everything. And I'm going to try to give you everything that I know, or at least that I've been told about anything that, for what it's worth. You know, at this point in time, who really knows? But I'm just going to relay the messaging of everything. But listen, Arkansas lost to Texas. They got blown out. Okay, maybe blown outs. 15-point loss. I think it was a lot worse than what the final score indicated, but still. I feel for the team. I really do. I feel for Bobby Petrino. And when this all comes to an end, that since I assume he's not going to be the head coach, then I'm going to give him nothing but love. Like everyone knows I'm a big Bobby guy. This 7-game stretch that he went on, even if he goes 0-7, it's not going to change my mind on my appreciation and respect for him. So, but I think everybody's at the point they just want the season to end so they can move on with the coaching search. There's been so many names, man. There's been so many names that people continue to throw around, continue to try to make sense out of, continue to try to see if it can stick. And I'm really getting to the point where I just want this over with, man. I really do. I have nothing but love for all of you and for tuning in and hanging out and everything. But man, it's just gotten to a fever pitch. And I was hoping on Saturday that some things transpired, or at least started moving somewhat quickly, when towards the end of the Arkansas-Texas game, you had Pete Thamel of ESPN, who to me is about as reputable as anybody when it comes to the coaching search, lay it out there and say that Arkansas is looking to, hone in on some guys and close it up and, all the regular stuff. But he mentioned four names. And those names happen to be Alex Golesh, Ryan Silverfield, Eric Morris, and Kane Womack. Those are the four names that got mentioned as being, if you want to call them finalists, if you want to call them, the ones that they're zeroing in on, however you want to put it, that's the ones that it looks like. And I felt like as soon as that report came out, I was like, okay, from what I had been hearing about particular individuals, it seems like that makes sense. That's the main ones I have been hearing. And maybe we can finally start having some clarity on this. Because as I've said many times before, and I can't remember if I've said it specifically on Locked On. I feel like I have, but even in case I haven't, everyone's got their sources and all that. Me personally, I've only heard 3 coaches from the people I know and respect, and my sauces, as I like to call them. The only people in this entire process that I've heard specific names on that were specifically connected to the job that I truly trust has been James Franklin, Ryan Silverfield, and Eric Morris. Those are the only ones that I have heard from any sort of legitimacy, and also ones that I feel like made it further along the process and just getting contacted. That's not to say anybody that said otherwise or said that there were other coaches are wrong. I'm just saying what I've said, about what I've been told. And then here lately, there has been some steam about Kane Womack, because Kane Womack, being a Razorback himself, being from Fayetteville, went to Fayetteville High School with him. There's the connections there and the obvious thing. But when Thamel said that at the end, I was like, all right, so I guess, from what I've been understanding, what I've been hearing, there is going to be some things transpiring there. Oh, little did I know that Sunday would happen. The most insane stuff. Now, a lot of you probably weren't caught up in it because you were probably doing something like something better, like maybe, living your life and not being wrapped up in it in social media. I unfortunately was kind of just, it's part of my job, was like latched into it. But Brandon Marcello, who, again, love, respect Brandon, does a great job for 24/7 Sports. He put out there that some clarity is going to be happening to the situation within the next 48 hours. That was Sunday morning. So here we are about halfway through, or I guess almost to it, depending on when you listen and watch this podcast. That doesn't mean that Arkansas is going to officially hire a coach at that point. And in that stretch, it means that it's just going to start kind of narrowing down and getting down to the nitty gritty. I don't believe it'll be Ryan Silverfield. I don't believe that it'll be Alex Golesh. I think Eric Morris or Kane Womack are the most likely candidates in this. But as we know, there's so much in limbo, which we'll talk about the timing of everything. There's so much in limbo right now with this situation. What I've also understood about this deal is that the process has not been a very clean one for Arkansas. There have been some things that have come up, and as far as the organization behind it all, the presentation behind it all, the sales pitch, if you will, behind it all, the funding is not where I think anyone wants it to be. Various reasons for that. And you're starting to kind of get through this to the ending stretch of, okay, so are we going to pull a rabbit out of our hat at the end? Or are we going to have to settle? Is this a disaster? Is this going to be okay? What? Because as I say that, hey, the process has not been clean. It's not been good. Your immediate reaction is probably, well, this is going to be a disaster hire and we're going to go downhill quickly. Well, I want to be clear and fair. Just because the process hasn't been clean doesn't mean the ending result can't be. I mean, think of it in a football game. How many times have you seen you get a win as a football team? Well, maybe not at Arkansas. I don't see them as often. But say basketball even. You win, but the game was disgusting. It was gross. The process was not, you didn't make many shots. You had some turnovers, but you ended up winning the game in the end. Now that could happen here. It could be something to where the end result ends up being just fine. But I'm just really hard. I think I talked about a couple weeks ago when I guess hit my down negative feeling thoughts on this podcast where I was like, I just don't have a good feeling about it. I think ever since then, it really started unraveling. I think that there is some concerns going on from the U of A that they felt a lot more confident that they would be able to get more funding than what they were able to, that there would be a lot more interest in what they had going on. But it seems that just like in everything else, Arkansas is vastly unprepared and have been unprepared for this moment. Again, it's just stuff I've heard. And it's not just from somebody here at the U of A. It's somebody from outside the U of A. Now, I'm hopeful that they still can pull it out and get a great coach. That's what I'm hopeful for. But it's just a microcosm, of everything that's been going on and the concerns that so many Razorback fans have. And I want to be clear, too, to whom, no matter who the coach ends up being, I am going to be supportive. Like, I'm going to give them a chance. I'm not going to immediately be like, worst ever, disaster, fire everybody. Like, I'm going to look at it from the entire big picture. And then I'll have my reactions to it. But I know that there is some growing concern about things. I think, and my understanding is that there's even concerns about the fan reaction, about what it would be like if they didn't make this great hire that they were promising or trying to make. The splash, how can they spin it and make it into something that everybody comes on board with? That's a problem. But it's not a problem based on the coach and the coach's name. Don't get it twisted, folks. those four names that I still believe the coach will be one of those four names, but any of those four names in any other circumstance, though, fans could get excited about those particular candidates for sure. We've seen it. Folks, we got excited about Chad Morris for a little bit, all right? Like, it could happen. Even Sam Pittman a bit. You can talk yourself into it. But the biggest issue right now is just going back to the relationship of the fans and the higher-ups, the suits. There's no trust there. There's no trust. And it's hard for fans to get excited about a coach that they normally would under different circumstances when those that are involved in the hiring aren't being trusted. Fans aren't going to trust the current setup to set the current coach or the next coach up for success when you did in the previous one. Fans aren't going to trust that you did your due diligence. Fans aren't going to trust that this was the guy all along and that you didn't whiff on other coaches like James Franklin, like what you did. People aren't going to trust you in this. And because of that, it's going to be hard for them to buy into it, as unfair as it is. Now, there's going to be a lot of you that will buy into it, and that's great. I'm not going to tell you not to. Shoot, I'll even end up buying into it as far as seeing how the big picture is, but it's about the big picture and the direction. But I am just continuing to be perturbed by this whole thing of like the elephant in the room, that everyone sees there's problems, but instead of just fixing the problem, we're trying to message it into a way to where it's not a problem. Maybe focus on the problem and fix the problem. And when you fix the problem, the fans come back in and they're all on board once again. That's just my opinion. But I'm disturbed by some of this stuff, and I'm disturbed by the nonsensical approach that has been taken by some. And I'm hoping again that it all comes out to be all right. I'm going to give the coach a chance. I think they deserve it. Any coach that comes here to Arkansas, he chose this job. I'm going to give him a chance. I'm going to root for him. I want him to succeed. But the U of A has got to get on board and has to get together and communicate in an effective way to where fans can believe, once again, that you are doing the right thing. Because until that point, there's going to be this awkward tension going on in this program for quite some time. Timing is everything, right? I'm going to go into why the timing of this coaching hire is going to be extremely interesting, but also extremely important. Stay with us here on Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, I'm here to tell you about our friends over at Wayfair. The holiday season is right around the corner, and that means it's time to get your home ready. Whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, or fun serveware for holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to make you and your space shine. And the best part, you don't have to wait. Wayfair's Black Friday's deals are happening all month long with up to 70% off from everything from sofas to spatulas. I'm actually having to move into a new place here soon, and I've checked out Wayfair, and that's incredible to see some of the quality items that they have for such a low price right now. I mean, it's with Christmas around the corner. I'm going to Merry Christmas to myself. That's how I know I'm a big adult now, is because I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy furniture. But it is exciting because they have great stuff, and it's at a very great price. So if you ever hosted family for the holidays, you know how much of a difference a few new touches can make, and Wayfair makes that easy. So don't miss out on the Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale up to 70% off. That's WAYFAIR.com. Sale ends December 7th. Okay, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I want to talk about the timing of this hire because the timing has not been convenient for any of us. I never want to relive and go through this ever again. No, I'm not talking about a coaching search. I'm talking about a 9-week coaching search. I do not want to do this again. I knew that it would be tough. I knew that it was going to be a little bit of annoying, But this is brutal. This has been brutal because on top of that, you continue to lose games. You had the Petrino angle. You have now the things that you've missed out on. And as you were one of the very few first teams in the Power Four to fire their coach, now it's like tripled of how many teams are looking for new coaches. And in the SEC alone, you got 3 other gigs that are open with Florida, LSU, and Auburn. All 3 of them are better than you. And potentially, depending on what Lane Kiffin decides to do, Ole Miss could open back up, which once again is in a better position than you. It's a scary thing, isn't it? But that's what's made this timing so insane with the modern day of college football. Before, we could just sit there and know about how these things work, right? If you fired a coach, all right, well, we fire him as soon as the final horn sounds of the final game. That Arkansas lost to LSU on Black Friday. That Saturday or Sunday, the coach is fired, right? And then you go, all right, well, let's see. We got time, right? Because we got till the next semester, till January, mid-January, until the semester really gets going. So let's just break it down and look at the coaches and check out who's interested and who's not. Maybe see what they do in their bowl games. Get to the recruiting class, but we want to move fast to get them to keep the recruiting class. And it just seemed like it was such a formulaic way of doing it that everybody did it by. But because now with the chaos that is the month of December, when it comes to transfer portal opening up, when it comes to the early signing day or just signing day in December for high school, when it comes to now the playoffs, because if there's teams and coaches that say, we'll throw one out there, Eric Morris of North Texas, say if they continue to win and he gets a playoff spot, I mean, is he going to leave his team high and dry before they even go to the playoffs? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It's nonsensical, and it's a problem, and all of this needs to be fixed. And that's why the timing is so crucial in all of this. And I think that that's why all of us, you, me, everyone, has had names get dropped and then in this holding pattern this entire time, because everybody is in a holding pattern. If you have a coach that is interested in Arkansas right now and has been, and really wants the job even, you're probably sitting there being like, well, then why don't they take it? Because they may be sitting over there and being like, well, I really like the Arkansas job. However, if Lane Kiffin goes to LSU or Florida, that Ole Miss job looks pretty dadgum enticing to me. I think that would be a better gig. I think I could get that gig if I just wait. And suddenly Arkansas's like, okay, well, we just have to wait for this. Because then there could be another situation where that coach that was thinking about going to Arkansas, say there's another school out there, say pick one that's got an open job in the Power Four. How about Auburn? We'll just use Auburn. Say if Auburn is looking at, Arkansas, then they're like, well, we thought that they were going to get this coach, but then the coach we're targeting now might also be interested in Ole Miss if Lane Kiffin leaves. But we got to get him signed on, but they don't want to sign on yet because what if Lane Kiffin stays at Ole Miss? Then they think they can get the LSU job. Like, it's all of this madness and chaos, which goes back to the whole thing of why you should have made a change at the end of the last season. So you wouldn't be a part of this chaos, but you are. And so that's why timing is a scary but important thing. And for all of you that get so frustrated by it, it's like, oh, I've been hearing this and y'all been saying this and it's not been true. And who knows anything about that? Are there people that just don't know? Sure, for sure, of course. But there's also people that get told these things, and because of the holding pattern that everybody gets put in, you just kind of have to sit there and eat it. You have to sit there and wait. It's not ideal. Nobody wants to do it. But unfortunately, it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. There's one thing, though, that Arkansas fans have to remember during this coaching search. I'm going to tell you what it is. Stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, we know college football is coming to an end, but it's still in full swing for some. We got the NFL still going on. You got college basketball. You got everything you could possibly want. But getting tickets can sometimes feel like a battle more so than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. It's annoying, but that's why I use the Game Time app. The app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the lowest prices and best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. Anytime you pull up the Game Time app, just a couple taps, and you see all the amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games for as low as $25. It's faster, cheaper, and a less stressful way than ever when it comes to buying your tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying college football and basketball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Razorback fans, you've been through a ringer of this coaching search. And I know I've spent the entire podcast talking about it because that's really all that anyone can talk about. I mean, it's the thing that it gets brought up to me when it comes to anywhere I go. I had the honor of going to the basketball game this past Friday night, which Arkansas looked good in it, thankfully. But just the amount of people I got to talk to and got to meet, which was awesome. I love doing that. I love getting able to meet some of you listeners out there. And for some of you to just come up to me, say, hey, or, whatever, but then just be like, so who we hiring? And I, of course, had to make the same old joke to everybody. I was like, it might be you. The point is, like, everybody's interested. Everybody's curious about it. But there's some stuff that kind of gets always lost in the emotions because it is an emotional time. People are very passionate about what they want and who they want and how they want it. But it's not always going to work out the way that we always want it to work out to. But here's the fact that you have to remember. You have to remember, folks, during this Razorback football coaching search. You can sit here and you can draw up this fantasy in your head of the perfect coach, of the coach that you've heard a name in passing, and you say, that's who I want. And you get it in your mind, and you put it together, and you say, man, imagine how cool that would be for that, and think about the games we'd win, and think about the excitement, and just, this is why I like him, because he does this at this school that he's at now, and he's the best to ever do it, and all of those things. And then somebody comes up, a Pete Thamel, a Brandon Marcello, some national person, and says, well, these are actually the names that are involved in the search. And that list of names that they put out there doesn't include yours, not the coach that you wanted or the coach you thought about. And that puts you into a rage. You get mad. You're like, you don't know anything. Because I heard from this person and it is them. And that's what I've built into my head. And that's what I think is going to be successful. So therefore, you know nothing. I get it. Passion. We're passionate. But sometimes I feel like we view a coaching search similar to what we do when it comes to rankings, right? The only ranking that truly, and the only people that rank teams that truly know anything are the only ones that rank my team the highest. 24/7 Sports ranked my team in the recruiting rankings 24th, but On3 said 19th. So On3, I've always preferred them. It's kind of what we do. We want the best for what we can get. And if somebody is saying something, even if it's not anything legitimate, you hang on to it. But you just got to remember, folks, that this is going to be, you're going to have a head coach. And more than likely, it's not going to be your number one pick. But that doesn't mean you can't still get excited. That doesn't mean you still can't believe. That doesn't mean you still can't do the things that you need to do to be a Razorback fan and be excited about football. I can get excited about Eric Morris. I really can. I can get excited about Alex Golesh. No, Kane Womack may take some convincing, just to be honest. But, if he gets a good staff and if he gets the funding, then okay. And that's the most important fact. none of it matters at all unless this coach is set up for financial success in the SEC. And if they're not, we're going to be able to tell pretty quickly. And if they're not, and we can tell pretty quickly, there's going to have to be some hell to pay. That's all I'm saying. Appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter, John Nabors Show, for any questions, comments, concerns you may have. Keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. See you then.